Legend has said that many years ago, a terrible drought swept through the lands of the Quechua people. Plants and moss were reduced to dust, and soon even the trees began to suffer from the lack of water. In the sky, nothing was happening. There were no clouds that could provide some rain, just a very radiant sun. The heat was such that the rocks began to crack, and the hot air formed those swirls here and there. It was seen that if rain did not come soon, the animals and plants would die. In this horrible drought, only one plant bravely resisted, the Qantu. It is the kind of plant that needs very little water to grow and flourish in the desert. But since the sun was so strong, it too began to dry out. It is said that when the last Qantu felt its life was about to end, it put all its energy into the last bud that was left. During that night, that last flower magically transformed. At dawn, the sun was again at its maximum brightness and heat, and as it was lacking the morning dew, the bud detached from its stem, but instead of falling to the ground, it became a hummingbird and flew away. Buzzing, the little bird flew to the mountain range, passing over the Huakrahucha lake, looking thirstily at the surface of the waters, but it did not stop to drink a single drop. The hummingbird kept flying, each time higher and farther away with its small wings. The destination of this bold little hummingbird was the top of the big mountains, where the god Waitapajana lived. God Waitapajana was contemplating the sunrise when he smelled the perfume of the Qantu, his favorite flower, as it was the flower the god used to decorate his suits and his parties. But there was no Qantu plant around him, just a brave little hummingbird smelling just like the Qantu plant. Very soon after the little bird landed in his hands, it died of exhaustion, but not without first asking the god for mercy for the dry lands. God Waitapajana looked down with horror and discovered the damage that the drought was doing to the land of the Quichuas, his people. He very delicately left the hummingbird on a stone, and filled with deep sadness, the god cried, God Waitapajana could not prevent two of his enormous crystal tears from rolling down the mountains. All the world shook as they fell, detaching even large chunks of mountains. The tears finally landed into Wakrahucha Lake, thus awakening the great snake, Amaru, who rested in the deepness of the lake. Its head and the rest of its body curled up in the mountain range for kilometers and kilometers. Amaru came out of his dream of centuries, and the world shook again. The great snake rose with its head above the foamy waters of the lake, and spreading its wings, covered the punished lands with shadows. From its fish tail, abundant hail was released. By flapping its wings, it made it rain for days. And from the reflection of its scales, peace and calm arose in the form of a beautiful rainbow. Soon thereafter, Amaru entwined back into the forest and sank into the lake to return to sleep. Thus, the great mission of the brave hummingbird was accomplished. The Quechua people were relieved to see their empire greening, fed by the generous rain, while they discovered new rivers of water in the places where Amaru shook. Since that time, it is said that on the scales of the great Amaru, all things, all beings, and their lives, their realities and dreams are written. It will never be forgotten how a small desert flower and hummingbird saved the world from that terrible drought.